Well, what's the crack, everybody? How are you getting on? Welcome to another buckshot again. Apologies for the bird absolutely losing its banana outside the door, but I had to open it because just finished today's podcast and it is hot as balls. Yeah, it's like 35 degrees here in the studio, so if the bird is annoying you, I'm sorry. Very welcome. Patreons would have got this last night, of course, along with the video. We had a live ramble, which was powerful crack last Sunday with Patreon, so that's what you get for joining the Patreons. Thank you for all the lovely messages, coming in the last few weeks. Fair play to you. Gigs coming up. I've clattered. I'm gigging around with comedy clubs. My website, some virus or something happened, so it wiped all my dates, so I'll be doing that this weekend. You can find out where I'm going to be, but I'm in Cork this Saturday night, and but Clattered is coming to Tipperary. It's going to be in Care in the Hill Inn on September 10th and the weekend of October 1st. I think it is October 1st, actually. I'm going to be in Judge Roy Beans, and opening for me there will be Keith Walsh from 2FM fame. Yeah, he's giving a go at stand-up. So if you're in the Kildare district, that's where you need to be. But there's going to be comedy clubs and stuff like that in between. If you follow me on social platforms, you trust me, I won't be shy in telling you about it. Tom Mahoney Comedy or Buckshot Podcast, it'll find it. Instagram is probably the most likely place. I'm on the TikToks and all the others, but whatever lights your candle, you'll find me wherever. I won't be shy in saying it. If you are listening on Spotify, would you do me a favour and hit subscribe, hit the little bell as well, so that it does pop up on your phone every single Friday. If you want to become a patron, you get the extra Ramble Pod, which is midweek, and you get access, to the ad-free one. So if ads alone give you a pin, your whole, or this chat, typically I don't on the Patreon ones. You don't have to listen to anything bar the interviews. So go on over there, become a Patreon for $3 hairs a month. If you can hit the 5-star review, do please. Anything less than that, no use to me. Same with Apple Podcast. If you are listening on Apple, give it the 5 stars. And leave a comment. Do me a favour, if none of those things, you're like, I don't do none of those things, or I'm not listening on any of those platforms, will you just screen grab it? Screen grab, you listen to the podcast on your phone, and tag it on Instagram is probably the handiest place, because I can repost it, just to let more people know about it. Be much appreciated. Anyway, moving on to today's guest. We literally just wrapped up the podcast right now. I'm sweating bullets because the studio is absolutely roasting, but the crack was absolutely 90. This is a quality musician. I absolutely loved her stuff from the second I heard it. I knew, as they say in Cork, she was one of her own. Good crack, genuine, and most importantly, class. Everybody, sit back and enjoy the fantastic Fieldsy. Fieldsy, welcome. We'll do a rolling start. We were talking anyway just beforehand, but we'll do a rolling start. Thanks a million. The busiest woman in Ireland right now.
Oh well, I am. But thanks for having me, Tom. I really appreciate it.
Do you know what? Because it's Zoom, I can see your real name, and I'm raging. I didn't want to know I'm not telling anybody your real name either. No way.
Boring. I need to change that. Damn it.
Yes, you do. Because I see it coming in like, who's that? Cool.
Yeah, bored with the real name. Okay.
it's kind of like finding out your favorite wrestler's name. Like, no, I don't want to know his name is Brendan O'Brien. I want to know he's.
Oh, disappointed.
That's class. We were talking last week. You were in the flat. How was it?
Right. Yeah. So because I obviously had my Australian band with me, and the girls play traditional Irish music, and I was like, oh my god, the Flat Y'all is on in Mullingar while we're there. My brother lives there. We had no plans to play, so I was like, we'll just go and we'll hang out and stuff. And a guy from Mullingar that lives in Australia, a musician friend, was like, if you want a gig, let me know. So I was like, oh. And at that point, I had no voice left. I was dying with the flu this entire tour. I was like, typical. But we managed to get a couple of gigs, and they were just insane. And it was just the bizarrest, craziest, few gigs ever in a, obviously the Flat is very much traditional music, and they just want trad. So to kind of be, thrown in there where it's Celtic folk rock, I wasn't sure how we were going to be received, and it was just they loved it. It was mental, so it was such a great success.
But there's not even it's not like you're crowbarring in some, rap artist, at the same time, you're going, I'm Irish anyway, lads, just to let you know, and I have Celtic, rock. So like you can see how the old stuffies would kind of go, here now, where's the banjo?
Yeah, exactly right. But when Little Miss Squeezebox pulled out the accordion, I think it was solved.
Jesus, what a great name. Nobody is. You're actually wrestlers, aren't you?
We
Nobody
are,
is.
we are undercover.
But cause like that, I picked up a time. I was watching an interview which came up on Instagram, and I went, here's a hint of it. And then I went looking. I went, oh, you've been in Australia for ages. Now it's only because I'm a freak for accents, and I go, you spent time in the Gaeltacht, didn't you? I'm that weird when it comes to it. But because rather than rooting, well, we can go dip back and forth because with your music and stuff like that as to how you ended up in Australia. But how long are you there? What, 11 years?
Yeah, 11 years. And it's funny because when I moved there, nobody could understand me because like speak, 100 miles an hour. So, and at the time I was working as a hairdresser in salons, and I'd pick up the phone and they'd be like, oh, is your manager there? I don't know what you're saying. So I had to really slow down. And I live in Western Australia, which they're all very like chill and beachy, and like, takes about half an hour to get a sentence. So I had to like really slow myself down and kind of neutralize my accent, which was already neutral because I'm from Dublin. So it's not like I have a country accent, which is like thicker,
I know.
But,
I hear me all the time. It's like I can barely understand me.
I'd understand you, but they have breeze, And I usually get asked if I'm Canadian, actually, which is random. Or they're like, what part of the States are you from? I'm like, Dublin.
I hope your reply to.
I just changed it a little bit so they could understand. But as soon as I come back here, like the girls were even saying, oh my God, you literally switched into like Dublin mode. We can't understand a word you're saying when you're with all your friends,
But you that's the thing to assimilate. Like I worked on in a panto years ago with Samantha Mumba.
Oh.
And shy, I didn't even know she was living in America. And we were sitting beside it, we were doing the read through, and then I thought, she's very American sounding, but maybe that's how she reads. I don't know. And then a few days go by, like, and she's still reading. We're just doing scenes together or whatever, and she's still reading in this American accent. I went, Mama, what's the fucking crack with the American accent? She goes, I've been there 20 years, Tom. I went, oh, could you?
A little bit.
But in fairness to her, it took her about another day and a half. Bang,
gone. It's weird. It's like that. Yeah, I feel some people are like accent chameleons. You know what I mean? As soon as you go somewhere, you just take on that accent. I'm a little bit like that. Like if I'm hanging around, one of my best friends over there is from the UK, and if I'm with her too long, I'm talking in Cornish. You know what I mean? It's crazy. I just take it on. Like, I'm sorry, I can't help it.
But that's pure Australians for you, though, isn't it? And Americans. As soon as it's a hint left of out of the field at all, it's like, sorry, what, mate? Hold on, what? Nah.
Yeah, right.
Literally, one of my friends moved home because of that. He was an engineer out there. He's like, I couldn't, and he's such a thick Cork accent.
Gosh, Cork. We love the Corks. Yes, I love that. That's brilliant.
But just couldn't be understood. He'd go in looking for, can I get a coffee? And they're going, mate, what, can we get somebody for this guy?
And it's weird to me because I'm like, what aren't you hearing? Like, how can you not like put that together, sort of thing? But I don't know. I think it's a bit to do with the speed that we talk as well.
But that's it. And also, I suppose in Australia, you drive from one side to the other, and there isn't a massive variance. Not huge.
No, there's not at all. You can tell there's a little one. You can tell the pitch is different in certain states, and they go up at some words and come down. That's where I can tell the difference. But other than that, not a lot at all.
Like you literally go from one estate to another in Dublin, and you know what I mean? Stuff changes like immediately.
Massively. Like, we were playing a show up in Derry, and one of my bandmates was like, there's no way he's Irish. I'm like, this is Ireland. You're in Ireland, Northern Ireland, but it's Irish. You're like, nah, he's got to be Scottish or something. Welcome to Ireland. Yeah, you know, it's crazy.
And the two girls are Australian that play with you.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
That's class that you were able to tie in. I suppose we'll get to that in a minute. But Dublin, and then you had, because then of course I have to look you up, and I'm like, oh, I lived just up the road from you at one point. In Kinnegad. Were you in
Yeah.
Kinnegad?
I was in Kinnegad. My parents moved to Kinnegad in 2000. And then I actually moved to Raharney in about 2006. Which is outside Kinnegad. And then I moved here in 2011. So I was there for about 11 years altogether in Westmeath.
We were in Broadford. It was technically Kildare, but
sure.
You know what I mean? It's all turf.
Exactly.
So you were Dublin first. Where? And I need to ask you: was Gracefield Avenue your
That was fun. I was there until we left to go to Westmeath from the age. So it was my mom's childhood home, and all her siblings grew up there. And then as my nan got older, my parents bought the house from her, and then she lived there until, you know, she went on to the next wife. So I grew up there from the age of maybe like 5 or 6, but I was there from birth, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And was it a music you had? Because I'm always intrigued, because I tell dick jokes for a living. Do you know what I mean? Like
I call people dicks from the stage.
Literally, I get paid to say that out loud from a stage. I know it's you know, you can hang your hat on it.
It's the living, Tom.
So I always get intrigued by where your brain is at, kind of where your mind is at when you're, because dick jokes have to be written too. You know, you can't just tell the old dick jokes. You know, but
material all the time.
They're everywhere.
It's not see one, see them all, clearly.
No, still drawing them on walls at my age. But I get intrigued by like original artists, original musicians' brains, because I mean, your stuff is definitely your stuff, isn't it? That's why immediately, as soon as I heard it, I went, oh, this is fun. This is right. This is tickling back in my eyeballs. Like, you know, that kind of, it is like, because I don't get enamored an awful lot by music. Maybe I'm just a wanker. I don't know. Or I don't know.
Oh, I mean, you know, it's subjective. It's each to their own sort of thing.
But how did you get to where you were, performance style wise? What was it like growing up at home? Like, was it a Fury's household, or, you know what I mean? Was it like, where did you get to your Celtic rock? But then you've got your own versions of dance tunes and everything. It's just like class.
I know. Well, you see, it took me a while to get to Fieldsy. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I've only been Fieldsy the last maybe 6 years.
Okay.
Prior to that, when I moved to Australia, I took about 2 years out to just get my family settled. You know, it was a big transition, obviously. And then I started a band called Brewfield, which was a rock pop band. But prior to that, in Ireland, I was in girl bands, and going back to the Samantha Mumba connection, actually, I have a connection with her too, which is funny. I was in a girl band. Oh my God, I was like 16, I think. And we were on one of the first Irish talent shows, TV shows, by Jerry Ryan was the host, and it was called Let Me Entertain You or something. And that's actually where Samantha Mumba was on that show.
Yes. Good God, yes.
Yes. And my dad still has like the videotape. I'm like, I'll have to burn that while I'm here in Ireland. No one could ever see that, because there was no social media back then. Thank the Lord.
What was 16-year-old Fieldsy like?
Goodness. I was in a girl band, and we were told what to sing and told how to dance. And we were given like, I can't even remember. It was an All Saints song. And I don't know if you know Gloria Hunniford. She was like Gloria Hunniford, and the girl from The Snapper, I can't remember her name, the actress from this, you know, that Irish movie.
Yeah, was she the blondie one with curly hair? No,
the dark-haired one.
Yes.
They were the judges, and they crucified us. To be fair, she was like, you'd be good in your own areas, but not together, you know. And they were right. But yeah, the Samantha Mudd was on that show, and I think that's where she was kind of discovered a little bit, which is cute. And I'm like, I love that little connection, you know. But I did heaps of stuff, very pop. I was so into boy bands. I'm not gonna lie and try to be all like, oh yes, I loved all of these like really cool bands. I NSYNC, Backstreet Boys. I was proper into the pop stuff. So I kind of did a bit of that, did a bit of dance, and did a lot of songs for DJs.
Yeah.
And that's where my like love for kind of EDM and dance music comes from. Spent a lot of time in studios. Moved to Australia, should I say? Did the whole pop rock thing for a couple of years with the full band. And then I picked up the guitar maybe 6 years ago. Never played an instrument before that, apart from the tin whistle, you know, in school. But I was like, I'm not going to make it with the tin whistle.
3 blind mice.
Screaming it. But so I picked up the guitar, and as soon as I picked up the guitar, my entire like writing process changed. The things that I was playing just felt so much more me. And I know it sounds so cliche, but it's kind of like moving to Australia, doing the whole band scene, seeing what the music industry was like, and seeing different types of music, because it's quite large over there, really inspired me, and I think developed me as an artist. And I found myself, you know.
But that's it. Like, I know it sounds like a wanky thing to say, like, to found myself.
Saying
it. But to be fair to anybody, and what I might do is, if I have your permission to close out, I'll overlay the end of this track, because your guitar's gone to the mechanics.
Sorry, I wrecked it on this tour.
All right. Like, it most definitely is your voice. Like, it'd be an awful thing for somebody to say, I just found my voice, and literally they sound like every other bollocks. You know?
It's crazy, because I remember going to voice lessons really young at about 10 or 11. And the first thing that they taught me was to not sing in an American accent. And I was like, absolutely not. No one wants to hear my fucking Dublin accent coming through in songs. You know what I mean? So I didn't. I think a lot of singers shy away from that. And I did for a very long time. And if you listen to any of my songs, because in the band prior to Fieldsy, we released a whole heap of things. My accent is very Americanized, neutral, because I was like, I wasn't comfortable singing that style of music with my authentic accent, you know?
Yeah.
But so then I was like, fuck it. I'm stripping it all down. Oh, excuse the language. But
jeez, rip into it.
And I was really uncomfortable, but you have to get uncomfortable before you get comfortable. You know what I mean? So, and it's the one thing that people say to me. They're just like, I love that I can hear your accent when you sing, you know? And I was like, I really don't know why I wasted so much time trying to sound like everyone else, you know?
And I hate to sound like everybody else, actually, that has spoken to you, but that was the one thing that absolutely tickled me straight away. I was like, yeah. It was straight away. I went, yes. Because I think maybe for me, because I just hate conformity. Like, if you're going to be if you're going to be a creative or an artist, and you're just conforming for the sake of it, then you're just working. You're just working on your abolics. Like, you're not creating anything if you just sound like everybody else. Like,
exactly right. No, you're right. And I think I remember hearing Dermot Kennedy years ago, and it was the first current artist that I heard with his kind of authentic voice, and I was like, that is amazing. And he's so natural and comfortable doing it. What I need to be just really honing into that and like being authentic. And it's really funny. Obviously, I get compared to Dolores O'Riordan and Sinead O'Connor all the time, and I'm not mad about it. I'm just like, that's the best compliment ever. But it's like, it's really funny, and it's sad at the same time that people can specifically point out just those two singers from Ireland and their accent, you know?
Yeah, I suppose I remember I've spoken to a couple of singers, and there was this phenomenon that happened, and I'm not sure which band started. It was like male singers, this whiny upturn of a word, where their jaw gets real slack at the end of sentences. And the sentence is going great, and then all of a sudden you do this, like your fucking jaw is falling off.
It's a trend, and where you're from, they do it all the time, and I'm like, what are you you don't speak like that. Why are you singing that way? Do you know what I mean? But I mean, obviously, then I'm like, shut up, because you did it for a very long time. You know, you didn't sing in your same accent. But it's just a really, I think for artists in general, it's very, well, especially coming from Ireland, it's just you don't hear it enough, so you feel like you're going to be super out of place, you know.
Well, that, as you said, to me, I didn't make a comparison in my head, because as soon as you said Dolores or Sinead, I was like, oh yeah. I said, well, but then again, that's me. I wipe the disc drive immediately when I get onto something. It's like, no, I've absolutely forgotten about Dolores.
Yeah.
But now that you say it, yeah, correct. And it is sad, but it's the world over. I mean, British singers are forced to sing like Americans because they're just, well, it's because it's more commercial. But
Commercial, I know, it is true. And the songs that are written for them, if they don't write them themselves, they're probably written by American producers. You know what I mean? So you're kind of like shoved into that area, especially if you're with a record label or whatever. You know, you're kind of forced. Like, I remember the first meeting with a record label. And I remember the guy said to me, and I was massively into pop at this point, but I liked to dress like a rock chick, you know. And he just looked at me. He'd obviously heard my music, and he was like, well, what are you? And I was like, excuse me. And he was like, well, you sing pop, but you look rock. He was like, pick a lane. And I remember leaving that going, why do I have to pick a lane? Like, why do I have to look a certain way, to sing a certain way? And it was very confusing for a long time. And I think that, you know, we're definitely conditioned in a certain way that you have to pick a lane. And it wasn't until I got older and picked up the guitar, and I was just like, I don't care about fame or any of that shit anymore. I just want to do I want to do what I feel comfortable doing. And if people like it, amazing. If they don't, fuck off. Like, I don't care anymore, you know?
But isn't that the antithesis of
and
art?
I think
isn't
that's
it?
exactly. Yeah. And it's a shame that it took that long, but I feel like I needed to go through all of that shit to be where I am now, you know?
Well, thanks be to Christ, you did pick up a guitar and you weren't still singing, you know, the some dribble in your 50s. And it's like, Jesus Christ, come on.
If there's two people still listening, you know, when I'm 80, I'll be like, thanks a bill. I'm successful, you know?
I do think, though, I think there's a bit of a revolution coming on with it. I suppose you have social media, such a thing, and you have a good accent anyway when you do sing. Like, it isn't, but do you say that, like I said, I had the lads from the Mary Wallopers on, and they're gone stratospheric, and they sing in Drogheda accents. Do you know? And that's saying something.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Crazy. Or Mars Bar, or whatever that is. I had a cousin that 20 years ago. We just used to rip the crap out of her all the time. But it's, you know, it's great. It is great. And it's definitely, I think, you know, it's a big step for this country to get more artists out there, like worldwide, you know, sounding that kind of Celticness, but you know, incorporating it into different genres. It's amazing.
And who I went to see in Thomond Park it was probably just nearly 6 weeks ago at this stage, and it was Jerry Cinnamon. Did you ever come across Jerry Cinnamon? But he's a Scottish guy.
Okay.
You would, well, like, he has the stomp box going. It's just one guy, guitar, stomp box, giant. We're talking 80-foot stage in both directions.
Wow.
Doesn't make a difference. But he has one song called "She's a Belter," and
yes. I know the song. The girls are trying to get me to do a cover of it, actually.
That's where I was going with this. I'm sorry, me and the girls.
They know more songs, like, you know, than I do traditionally, that Irish people would love, which is hilarious. I'm the worst Irish musician ever. And they're always like, you need to do this one. You need to do this one. Do you know this one? I'm like, I don't know any of them. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but of course they're total fangirls to the scene. But you're Absolutely. Like, I am the scene, so you know.
But yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna definitely learn that one on this trip for sure.
But what I'm saying is he also sings like in his accent, which is quite a distinct accent, being a Scottish one. But people love it. They're like, you feel like at least the person has genuinely created something for ye, rather than just going, I'm going to sing, you know, something that was generically made by
Yeah,
somebody, you know.
a little pop song or whatever. Totally. I mean, I played in Derry with a guy called Gary Og. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's also Scottish. And he just does like a whole bunch of rebel songs, you know, up in Derry. And I was just blown away because it was packed with like 19, 20 year olds that knew every single word to every song. And I was like, well, clearly it's ingrained in their upbringing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just amazing. I was just sat there like jaw to the floor going, I felt so at home, even though I didn't know one song. I did, I kind of knew half of them, but I was this is my people's, you know what I mean? When you're away from it for so long, I didn't know how. I've done a couple of shows in Dublin previous years and I've never like ventured outside. So this is the first biggest tour that I've done and I wasn't sure how it was going to go. And it's just been like, I'm waiting to wake up, you know what I mean? Like it's crazy.
Isn't that class? Because, you know, they say like I suppose you're the prodigal daughter in a way, that kind of sense, you know. Well, before you left, you were, I suppose, in what you had constructed was pop Fieldsy.
Yeah,
Do you know,
yeah,
like, and
yeah.
then you found yourself, came back home, and you were, oh, they love me. This is great.
Like it's, you know, I have built up a little bit of a fan base on Instagram over the last couple of years and Facebook, particularly in Ireland, which it's so weird to go to a show and meet people that you've never met and they know everything about you because I post every second of every day on Instagram, you know. They're like, we love your kids. I feel like we're their aunt, never met them, you know what I mean? So crazy. But it's beautiful and I've built up a nice little following. So I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna go all out this year, you know, and just branch outside. And yeah, it's just been incredible. Like I'm still just like, is this real? Is it, you know? Am I gonna be able to go home back to Australia? I don't know.
It's and how does your girls find that?
The girls, Madeline, one of my violinists, has gone home back to
Oh,
Australia. So she's like, so the two girls are in different projects, hundreds of different projects. You know, I just hire them to come with me whenever they can because I just love, you know, playing with the girls. But so she had to go home and do some shows. She was here for about 3 weeks. And then Nikki, Little Miss Squeezebox, she was already here about 2 months, traveling around. So she's just leaving after me, middle of September. But neither actually. My violinist was here 15 years ago, and she actually played at the Flak, y'all. In Clonmel 15 years ago.
I was at that one. I was going to say, yeah.
We actually.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Stop it. And she's like, she looks so petite and classic and beautiful, but I call her like the silent assassin. And also her Irish name is Mad Dog Malone because she's just crazy, like. And even 15 years ago, her mom was telling me that they got into trouble, so they had to represent Australia in Clonmel, and that she was like, I remember the streets were just like streaming with beer because it was all spilt and it was crazy, you know. I was like, that's standard. And Madeline was like sat in a curb busking with her feet like splashing in the beer, and her sister was like fire dancing, you know, and they weren't allowed to do that because they were like supposed to be like, you know, professional child players, and they got into trouble and stuff and they were never asked back. I'd go back, but I was like, now you can be like, now you're all over the flat 15 years later, you know, playing non-traditional music.
And when, like, that was the thing, like, when I'm interested, because obviously you played pop and stuff like that, and then you started writing, like, what was the first thing you wrote? And did you go, hold on, what does that sound like? Do you know?
Yeah.
Because to me, when I heard your music, I'm like, oh, this is a different, she's carved a different rock here altogether. This isn't.
Well, because I didn't play guitar, so I had to teach myself. So it was a very slow process. I knew 4 chords for a very long time. And I was like, okay, I need to get creative here because I know 4 chords and I have to like write a heap of songs with these 4 chords. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just kind of came a little bit natural. I just wrote a few ballads and, you know, the typical I hate you songs. And I was like, go and play I hate you songs. It's gonna be some kind of upbeat stuff, you know. but I did. I kind of just wrote what came natural and really made sure that I was singing in my authentic accent. And I think just straight away that changes the vibe of a song in
Yes.
general. Because I do feel a lot of my songs still were created with that pop kind of like influence.
Yeah.
But I've just kind of twisted them a little bit, you know? And I think probably the first really kind of like Irish vibey song. I don't know if you've heard my song called You.
Yeah.
And I wrote that in this house actually about 4 years ago when I was home for a visit. And it took me about 2 years to finish. I just couldn't finish it, you know? But for me, that's probably the one song that I really remember writing and just feeling every bone of it being like who I am and Irish and Celticness and stuff.
And how do you know, like, what's your, like, do you know where you want to get with a song? Like, because your songs are telling a story too, like, almost, with the want of a better description, because I'm an idiot, almost in, you know, the Irish storytelling way, or almost country music way. There definitely is, like, this isn't some soppy bollocks of a thing where I'm going, well, she's just repeating the same thing over, you know, like.
Yeah, I know. And that was an issue with me because I used to think I just can't write a song for the sake of writing a song.
Yeah.
So, like, can you write a song about this? I'm kind of a little bit like egotistical in that way. Like, I'm just like, oh, it doesn't mean anything to me. I have to write something that means something to me, you know? I mean, now I can because I can make money that way, but I couldn't before. But if I'm performing a song, it will be only something that I've written about my experience or somebody that I know's experience. But it'll usually be just something that triggers a melody or a lyric, and then I'll be like, oh, that reminds me of this, and then I'll just go and write the song. I can't sit down and be like, okay, I need space, let me write the song. It's usually my kids are making the shite out of each other in the background, you know, the steaks on the fryer or whatever. It's absolute chaos. If you give me peace, I cannot write. It's like, right, it's crazy.
I absolutely get that. I have attempted to sit down and go, well, I'll make a note of that now. What I'll do is I'll sit in my quiet space here in the studio, and absolute horseshit will be what will come out the other end. It'll only work if I'm doing something, like literally 2 weeks ago, wrote maybe a 5-minute bit that has worked nicely since, and will come while using a chainsaw.
I love it.
It was this angry sounding machine going in my hand, and for a good 45 minutes, and by the end of it, I'd pieced this whole thing together while chopping up, ironically, maybe very artistically, chopping up something.
You just created your best work while holding a chainsaw. It's kind of psychotic, but I love it, you know?
And it is, like, my stuff has gone fairly manic in the last few years, like, and.
But is it working better for you?
Oh, like I have to stop myself giggling and cracking up in the middle because I'm having such a good time, like going, lads, you've no idea, this is some crack. This is some crack, isn't it?
I love it.
Don't step out from behind the fourth wall, Tom. Come on. But I do all the time. Just start roaring, laughing, go, "Jeez, this is some crack, huh?" I believe I'm getting paid. You all paid me to come up here.
Yeah, I'm just entertaining myself here.
But it's very interesting that that's how you would go about it, and go, when things are going wild and, you know, your hair's on fire, you're like, fuck it, this is the time now to get this is coming together now nicely.
Yeah, and I like, there has to be something going on, you know what I mean? Like, if I'm in a really great spot and everything's beautiful, I will not write anything.
But maybe that's, like, not to get woo-woo on it, but maybe that's the vibe that sits in a piece of art that attracted me to it, because I was like, oh yeah, that's because my brain runs at 10,000 revs all the time. Like, I'm a maniac. Like, there's just no slowing it down. So if I can find something that, maybe that's what it is, maybe you're a touch of a maniac. That's what I'm trying to say here.
I know, I absolutely am. Like, I know that for sure. I am manic all of the time, and it's like my therapy, you know?
And that was why I think it latched on with me when I heard it. It was like, oh, she's a wild woman. Yeah. No, that's the stuff I want to be listening to.
You know, yeah, exactly. And then that's what a lot of people say to me, is that, you know, it's very relatable. You know, when I write, I think I want people to be able to relate, so I don't get too deep.
Yeah,
And
it has to be good crack too. Like there has to be enjoyment in it. Like
exactly, you know what I mean? It's like if I know a lot of writers that are beautiful writers, but no one can relate because it's too deep, you know, it's too personal to them. And you're like, that's great, but like I could only listen to it once, you know. Like I want people to listen to my stuff all of the time.
Well, that's it. That's Graham's lovely. Yeah. I could only listen to the one stuff.
You can have it back.
It's on Spotify. No, take it back. No, actually, take my phone.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Send me the next one. But no, but it's true. People want, and this is the thing. You're very, very disposable, you know, as an artist, because the industry is saturated and there's always something new and shinier waiting to come along. And people's brains, like in this day and age, are just like next, you know?
It's just swiping, isn't it? It's just, yeah.
Next all of the time. So you have to be constantly bringing out new things or make something that somebody wants to have on repeat.
That, and I mean, I put up before, I put up like 4 to 5 to, I put up hour-long sets of comedy and nobody will watch it because they look at the time on it. But it was only somebody said, just, can you grab like 30 to 40 seconds in the middle of, and the sentences put together may make no story, but they're just silly words all. I went, okay. And I just literally in the last week, all of a sudden now we're going to 30,000 views of me cursing for 35 seconds.
I know. It's crazy. Attention spans on people are that of a gnat. Like it's insane. And it's because you've got Instagram and you've got the reels and TikTok videos, and that's all they want to see is like, I'm only going to dedicate 15 seconds to each video, you know?
It's funny. I was standing beside a lad at traffic lights the other day, and he was peeling off the wrapper off a new iPhone, you know, the screen thing. And he was turning it on. He went, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" And his mother was beside him. He was like, "What's wrong?" He goes, "It's taking forever to start." Like, Jesus Christ, man! Jesus, where have you got to be? Where have you got?
What is that important?
But just he didn't have it in him.
Yeah,
just didn't have.
No patience whatsoever. Like it is crazy. Even with songs, even, you know, the standard radio play would be 3 minutes, but now it's been shortened to like 2:30 and probably less with all these lo-fi beats. You know what I mean? It's insane.
Yeah, like the likes of the Doors wouldn't have made it nowadays with 12 minutes on.
Bohemian Rhapsody, although that's quite famous. I don't think anyone's listened to the 8-minute long version of that. You know what I mean?
This is the thing. I mean, and I kind of, again, I'm being a hypocrite by saying conforming to it, but you do have to throw hooks out. Unless I got nobody pumping my tires, if you know what I mean. So I got to pump my own tires.
You just have to stay, you know, current and follow what's going on. You know, there's no point in fighting this war. You know, you've got to evolve with the way things are going. Unfortunately, that is the way things are going. And it's so fast paced and, you know, it's so vast and there's so many musicians and it's comedians, artists in general, that you have to create something that is going to capture the audience attention within those 15 seconds, which is nearly impossible.
Well, that's, I mean, the first one that actually, when I first came across you was Maniac, popped up on a reel or something. And I went, oh my God, now we'll sit back here for 1 minute now. We'll have a look at this situation. What's going on here?
What's going on? Was that the one that I recreated at home or live?
I think it was recreated at home. I think it was very up close. You had a mic like this one, really up close to your, yeah,
cool. Because I played that as my encore with the girls. So live, it's even better, and it just goes nuts. Like even in Australia, where they don't even really know it there, and I'm always shocked about that. I'm just like, what do you mean it hasn't? And you'll always spot the Irish people because they'll be just like, yeah, like they just come from nowhere, you know. And I've definitely like introduced it to the Australian people, but here I wasn't expecting. I knew people would know it, but like that song is timeless.
Like timeless, like the nostalgia. That song goes away every so often, and then it goes away in my life, and then it shows up
back.
I did a show, the biggest show of my life, a couple of months ago in the 3 Arena,
Wow.
And I opened for the two Johnnies, and it was a 20-minute set opening, and colossal. Like, you painted 10,000 fucking people, like, in the dark. It's maniac, like. But prior to that, immediately after I came off stage, they were having a break. You know, I was the warm-up act. They were having a break, and then the boys would come on. But they played, Fergal Darcy from 2FM was the DJ on. He came out, he was on the side of the set, and he played Maniac.
No
And
way.
the average age in the audience must be 22. They went buck wild. Buck what? They knew every word. I'm like, this song it's got to be 20 years old at this stage.
20 years old.
22, of course.
Yeah, Maniac 2000s. Like, no, it's...
Like, we knew that in discos, obviously. Like,
I swear to God. And the funniest thing, we managed to, like, get into a trad session in Mullingar and the Rebel Arms.
Oh, yeah.
And the girls were mad for a trad session, and I had like literally lost my voice at this point. So I was like, yeah, you girls go play with, you know, a group of, like, you know, older musicians. One had like a mandolin, and there was like an 83-year-old woman with like a harmonica, and it was beautiful. Came in with and it was really late, and we'd had a few drinks, and they were still like playing all the beautiful traditional music, and somebody came in with a guitar, and one of the girls was like, play Maniac, and I was like, absolutely not. This is read the room. Read the room. Like, it's a trad session.
There are bus passes in this room, woman, for Christ's sake.
Right? So I was like, screw it, go on. What's the worst that can happen? And they went mental. Like,
did they?
Not in the lifetime of the Flak Y'all has anyone ever played a Maniac 2000 with an 8-year-old granny, like, trying to keep up on the harmonic. Like, it was just surreal. And there's a video of it somewhere, but just craziest. And I was like, well, there you go. This is an iconic song. You could play it anywhere.
Because I'm now trying to rack my brains from like early 2000s dance tunes that were big in Ireland at the time, like Cotton Eye Joe. Let's see you do something with that.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, that song it's timeless for sure.
Jesus, because like I said, it was the one that hooked me, and then immediately then you go look and it's like, great, there's more, because there's nothing worse than finding somebody giving it a go and just going, Araf! Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on. I don't listen to any music. This is the one. And then, but thank God you had. So you were in Derry, you did Mullingar, and where else have you done?
So we started in Spain. Yeah, I did a couple of shows in Spain, and then we flew to Dublin. I dropped off the kids. I was like, bye, I'm going to Spain. And I'm sitting in 3 years, but I'll be back in a week, okay? Mind the kids.
Mommy's working. I'm working now.
Yeah, I'm working now. They're like, fine. Did a couple of shows in Spain, which were amazing. And then we came back and we had a show in Tipperary.
Lovely.
And then we went to the studio. Do you know Grouse Lodge? It's in Mo. So I went there and we did a couple of tracks there and stayed overnight. It's like ridiculous, the most amazing studio in the world, I'm going to say. And then we had, where did we go? Dundalk.
Brilliant.
Then Dublin, then Wexford, and then 2 shows in Mullingar. And that was the Wexford was supposed to be the last show. And then we got to the flat and we had shows. And then I'm now playing in Cork on next Friday. And
where are you playing in Cork? Because I'm only up these days. I'm in Tipperary, but I'm only 45 minutes from Cork.
Oh well, I'm in Tipperary on next Sunday.
Where? At
Gleason's in Clonmel.
Stop the lights.
And that's where I played. And he messaged. I got an email. And he was like, "Can you please come back before you go? I'm being bombarded by people like saying, can you please get Fieldsy back?" And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, this is the only date I've got." And he was like, "Yeah, book it in."
So you're in Gleason's in Clonmel, and what?
Sunday 21st.
Perfect. I'll be there. So
Park on the 19th. But yeah. So and then I had to extend my flights today. When does this go out? Because I'm not.
I'm going to put this out. No, I'm going to put this out tomorrow. I'm going to put this out tomorrow. Yeah.
I'll say that I may be playing at Electric Picnic.
Winky, wink, wink for the audio listeners.
Sounds but you know. So I just extended my tickets today.
You can't, like you will bust a hole in that tent.
I mean, I couldn't. I was like, all of my friends were like, we're going to rob your passport. Like, you cannot go home on the 23rd. And I was like, I know, but it's like an extra 2 week stay. And they were like, it's electric picnic. And I was like, okay. Don't need to twist my arm anymore.
But to be fair, I mean, you're a proactive person. You won't sit still during that time. Chances are, just like that, Gleason ringing you again, going, come back.
I know. And this is the first kind of few days that I've had off. So it's been nice, because I literally have been just hectic, and I was sick the entire time, and I just couldn't believe it. But the amount of whiskey that I drank burnt it off me in seconds, so it was fine. We got through.
Medicinal, and it's what rock stars do. So
exactly. So I'm just having family time, some downtime, and I'll be ready to go again. Which is good.
I'm surprised that you weren't coaxed out west, out to Galway kind of direction, because.
Well, I wanted to go to Galway, but I always pick this time to come home. I don't know why, because there's always festivals on, and they had like the International Art Festival in Galway when I wanted to play. So there was no venues free. But that's not to say that I might not reach out and see if there's anything happening in the next week or two.
Oh, I could put you in touch with a few people that I'd say
there you go.
I'd say could line you up fairly quick. You'd be all right. Because like that, you may as well touch. You've done the four corners now, so
yeah.
And there's no harm in laying a bit of groundwork for the next time you're back home as well. Like
Well, exactly, and that's the thing, which has been great. I've made so many connections, this year, that next year we can just do an even bigger tour, which is great.
And I won't keep you any longer, because I know you've got downtime to do and all the rest, and you will be doing more throughout your stay. But the notion I like of that, when you're about to play Electric Picnic, or you're about to play something big, like, is like, are you cool inside, or does the animal come out, or what is it? What's building inside you? Or are you like, this is cool, I'll have another sup of tea, so we'll just stroll out and do this?
No joke, when I was younger, I couldn't even sing in front of anybody. I'd have to be paid to sing in the corner looking at the wall. Like, I was so shy. And then I suffered with such bad stage fright for so long. And I just had to overcome it. And then I think because of that now, I don't get nervous until 10 minutes before I'm at the stage. So I'm just like, because sometimes I just don't even believe that it's real. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I just don't. And all the girls are like, are you not nervous? Are you excited? I'm like, oh, well, I'm looking forward to it, but I don't really think about it until I'm there. And then I see the crowd, and then I'm like, nervous 10 times before I go on stage.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. I love those.
Isn't it funny though? And I was only talking with somebody. You could literally have a broken leg, but that first word into the microphone, it's gone.
Absolutely insane. It is crazy. So yeah, what about you? Do you get nervous?
Not so much nervous when it's a brand new venue or whatever, or it's a big deal.
Yes.
But I've kind of learned a few kind of techniques to kind of stay in this. But there's nothing worse than having somebody with you who's also nervous, who's talking the fucking ears off you.
Yes, you're like, sure, just need to be in the moment.
Yeah. Would you? I can't back myself at this stage. I'm going, well, Jesus, I've done it 10,000 times at this stage.
Well, and like, you're right. It is like, sometimes if I'm opening for somebody who's relatively big, in Australia, and I know that their crowd is a little different to mine, or they have never seen me, I feel like I'm brand new,
Yeah.
That's why you can be quite vulnerable in that situation.
It used to be me against them kind of a thing, a little bit.
Yes, and I get in my head, like in the first couple of songs, I'm like, oh, this is going bad, and I'm doubting myself, and then I'm like, get out of my head and just enjoy it, and then it's like the best thing ever,
Yeah, there's I don't know where I heard it, but it's just a stupid. It was a zombie movie with Woody Harrelson called Zombie. Is it Zombieland? It's one of those, the one where he's going around with a banjo smashing people over the head. Like, but he had just one phrase just prior to getting nervous and just nut up or shut up, like one or the other. Just get after it, like. And
good little motto to have, isn't it?
Because there'll be the oddest times, like that particular time. And the sound back from the audience was one of the worst I've ever. Nothing. You could hear nothing.
Oh.
Now, imagine I don't have a guitar to hide behind. I've got nothing. I don't even have a mic stand. If I was that skinny, I don't. It was a radio mic.
Oh gosh! You just hear them though, is it? Or there was nothing?
I couldn't hear them for the first 15 seconds.
You went deaf.
And I'm going, what the fuck? Because the monitors were just blasting me out of it.
Yes.
And then your ear, it's almost like your ears are in like 3200, but they're in 41. You know, the kind of way, like, and then, but then you tune into it, it's like, oh, thank the Christ Almighty, because I've 20 minutes of this, and there's two 40-foot by 40-foot screens over behind me with just my massive head. Like, I'm gonna die in my hoop.
Don't look at it. How is 20 minutes though? Is that like, does 20 minutes feel long for a comedian?
No, well, sure, I'm a long-winded bastard anyway. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, just like
I know, but
this is supposed to be only 5 minutes, people. This was just
yeah, because I always wonder that. I'm like, that is the toughest job, because I've got a lot of friends that are like spoken word artists and stuff like that as well, and you're just you, like, naked on the stage, you know.
I suppose what it is your material and the character you turn into, to a degree, even if it's only slightly different to you. That's your music. That's your that's your weapon, I suppose, of choice, if you know what I mean. It's like, well, I'm grand. I have this much anyway.
You're prepared.
Yeah, you are prepared. Like, I mean, you'll hear people pretend like it's all on the fly all the time. Like, and there will be parts of it that from the thousands of times you've done it that can react to things on the fly.
Yeah.
You know, like the one we did in the Marquee a couple of weeks later. The sound was horrendous in another way. You could literally hear everything from outside the tent. Now there's 6,000 people looking at you, but we could all hear the lady who was on the tannoy outside.
Oh my gosh!
And she's telling the last few people at the bar who to go in, and it was this weird and everybody started. I went, is that inside my fucking head, or can everybody else hear that? And it sounds like we're at a fucking mart. And I just started selling cattle. So, you know,
that's brilliant.
You know, so that's kind of, I suppose, my instrument is.
Cares for it all.
You are now. I mean, still, you know, your arse will be doing some clenching though at the same time for that first 15 seconds. I can tell you all the time. You know,
15 minutes.
Jesus Christ, I've got, you know, but I'm always intrigued because whatever about comedy, yeah, people can go, oh, well, you're not funny. You go, oh, sure, what would you know about it?
Yes.
You don't know, you know, and that's the greatest shutdown ever, because they go, well, I know what I like, really, and that's what makes you technically able to tell what it, you know. But with music, everybody feels they know music, you know, that kind of way.
Absolutely, yes, for sure. And it's, you know, it's one of those things that you might not like the genre, but you can appreciate good musicians.
Oh yeah,
you know, not, you'll be told, you know.
Isn't that funny? Like you see, people can be so kind, but then so brutal as well.
Brutal. Now I've never really come across anything like that, but I've seen it in front of me to other musicians, and I just want to, like, I want the world to like swallow me, you know, because you're just like, shut up, you meanie. You know? People can be so brutal, and you know, art, like anything, it's subjective. So not everybody's gonna love you. You're not gonna be everybody's cup of tea, you know. And why would you want to be?
Well, that's the. I'm using this word again because I feel very intelligent. Saying that's the antithesis of this episode.
You can't be, you know what I mean? So, and I have it on a shirt. I'm like, just brew you, Bill.
Yeah, I want you to actually crowbar the word antithesis into a song for me.
Oh, just for you, I'm gonna write one.
Well, Fieldsy, this has been absolutely class. I'll see you on the 19th.
In Cork, or the 21st?
Oh, sorry, 21st in Gleason's. That's way handier, actually. We'll pop in the 21st in Gleason's. Virtual wing. Possibly you may end up at a really big festival in Stradbally in September. Just say it.
Just say, news to come.
I if it's all right, can I finish with Gracefield Avenue? Can I play that out?
That would be the most appropriate one, I think.
Fieldsy, once again, thank you very, very much for coming on Buckshot.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
We could hear shore like them boys, rode around topless making noise. They kiss chasing just for fun. Knocked on people's doors and then we'd run. Laid around careless in them fields. Hung around corners making deals. Got our reckless asses home for the last street light came on. Waking up with the sun beating through the window. Watch as all the shadows form in lines. I hear a voice echo through the ceiling. Flowers bloom and I peep out through the blinds. We cut our hair short like the boys. Rode around topless making noise. Played kiss chasing just for fun. Knocked on people's doors and then we run. Laid around careless in the fields. Hung around corners making deals. Got our reckless asses home for the last street light came on. On Gracefield Avenue, hey, that's what we do. Play all day and by night we be breaking up fights over who's best friends with who. On Gracefield Avenue, oh, we did it too. Took each other's bikes, brought into the night, and we're late for curfew. On Gracefield Avenue, da 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 da. I left the house in '99. I'm sure it's changed with time, but still looks the same in my memory lane. Just no kids out playing ball, no sea of empty walls where we used to sit. How I remember it, we could I hiss like them boys. Rode around topless making noise. Played kiss chasing just for fun. Knocked on people's doors and then we'd run. Laid around careless in the fields. Hung around corners making deals. Got our reckless asses home for the last street light came on. On Gracefield Avenue, hey, that's what we do. Play all day and by night we be breaking up fights over who's best friends with who. On Gracefield Avenue, oh, we did it too. Took each other's bikes, brought into the night, and we're late for curfew. On Gracefield Avenue, da 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 da. Da 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 da. We could I hear short like them boys. Rode around topless making noise. Played kiss chasing just for fun. Knocked on people's doors and then we run. Laid around careless in them fields. Hung around corners making deals. Got our reckless asses home for the last street light came on Gracefield Avenue.
Thank you very much, Fieldsy. Class. Oh, what a tune. What an absolute banger of a tune. Go listen. Go have a listen. Look down the show notes. I put a link in there where you can find more stuff on Fieldsy. If this is your first time listening, hit subscribe. Hit the bell as well so it pops up on your phone. If you want to become patrons, just support the podcast. If you can't, don't worry about it. Just go tell your nana about it. Gigs, like I said, September 10th, I'm going to have Clattered in Cahir in County Tipperary, and October 1st, I'm going to be in Newbridge in Kildare. So pop along to either one of those. Follow me on all the usual platforms. I won't be shy about telling you when I'm going to be out and about. Have a lovely weekend. Staying out of the sun. Stay cool. Drink plenty. And mind yourselves.